Yes. So I just started recording right now. I thought I did, but I didn't. But I'm not gonna go back to what I just rambled about. So I'm gonna start sketching right now. I'm using landscape orientation. I am lucky and privileged to have access to a printer. So I did a large version of the printer, mostly because otherwise I would have to use my cell phone, and then I wouldn't uh, give everyone the opportunity to see what I'm working on. So I'll be basically, what I'm gonna do right now, I'll spotlight this camera right here so you can see it, and I'm gonna start sketching. So uh, this is exciting because it involves architectural components and also a still life if you have something on the ceiling. So if I'm gonna start right away doing like some architectural lines because I have some lines that are cropped on the edges. And the advantage of doing what we're doing right now is that we're working off of a photograph. So we can just have a little bit of a guideline with our the sides of the photograph and the sides of our format. As usual, I make a distinction between what format is, which is the shape and the size of the area where we're painting on, and surface, which is what we're going to be applying paint on. Two different things, format and surface. And I go back and forth between them because I refer to specific things depending on what I'm referring to. So my format is 12 by 16. It's quite big. And we recommend a little bit smaller because of the time constraint. It's just going to give you more possibilities to advance your painting. But anything goes, really. It just depends on the time. So what I do is I concentrate on lines that are around. I think this, for me, facilitates the incorporation of my first lines because I have a point of reference. So I only have like a couple of things right here. I wanted to capture a little bit of the crown molding. This should be a little bit easy to sketch. So if you decide to change your composition, your view, your ceiling, go ahead and then, yeah, change it, I guess. Some of you, if you've been able to see some of the images that people uploaded, maybe you get inspired to also make changes. I have a mirror right there, and I'm already making changes on my sketch because I feel I did it a little bit too low. So I'm resketching it again. So the reason why we use charcoal, it's because not only it's the greatest sketching material ever, we're using it so we can make changes on the go. And then I have a vent. So I'm intending to incorporate it, the smoke detector right here. And this vintage, it's not really vintage. We bought it, I think 20 years ago from an artist who buys the skeleton of the chandeliers, I guess, brand new. And then he adds all the crystals. So we had it for a very long time. I'm going to apply here my potato shape method, which means that I'm gonna work with outlines and silhouettes, not details. So when I took the picture, I was thinking, should I just add something so intricate? And then it said, why not? If I really love it, I can simplify it. Yeah, I can simplify it, and I'm just doing it right now. I'm just studying this sort of like potato shape. So this is my initial potato shape stick figure stage, and now I'm going to have an opportunity after I do this to go back and see if I can make some changes and move things around. It seems deceptively easy, and it is not. It's complicated in regards of composition, and I'm not even going into values because this will be a perfect opportunity to practice blending. I can tell you right now, We practice texture a few times with plants and botanical elements, but blending and transitions, we haven't had a chance or many chances to sort of like splurge in that field. This will be it. So that's why this is such a fantastic, from a painter's point of view, a fantastic premise. So I'm here to check our time, and I know I haven't checked the clock, but I know we have time to make changes. So because I'm interested in that mirror, I'm just going back there and reshaping it. I know perfectly well that I'm doing a sketch, and I make a distinction between sketch and drawing because I don't want to get carried away and become too fussy with this stage. I'm already changing things. This is a little bit closer. Advantages that we have. It's not a portrait, so we don't have to look into proportions too much. So that's an advantage. So there's a little bit more of a forgiving element doing this. So we should be happy about that. Okay, so I just replaced or repositioned some of the lines, and that's the main reason of doing silhouettes and working with arrangement. We generally overlook composition, which is what we're doing right now. And we overlook it because we disregard the format. We never think of what size we're playing unless, you know, this is what we have, so we're just gonna use it. But we never incorporate that thought with what it really means in terms of how long the painting is going to take and where are the elements in the painting going to be positioned, how much detail we're going to have to do if it's bigger or smaller size. We just jump right into painting, forgetting about all those things. We go over it week after week. I think this is week 17 from the quarantine, the starting of the lockdown, sequestration. I love this word now. Just going from quarantine, lockdown, to sequestration. 17 weeks, and every single week, the first thing that I look at when I see the work in progress at the end is, where is the composition? Where are we at in regards of composition? And every week I find or I see that we have not quite thoughtfully strategize about it. I see corners that are really flushed, and I see interruptions in regards of the flow. So this is as important as the final minute of this instruction. So find out if you have enough space around it. And if you don't, find out how that visual interruption works. As I said before, we are both painters and viewers. We have to go back and forth from not only thinking and making decisions, but viewing the work as if we were viewers and not painters. So, and that's important because that's going to feed our decision making. All right, so this is good. This is good. I'm going to go back to this potato shape and see if I can refine it a little bit. So it's getting a little bit too close to the top. It's getting a little bit too close to the top. And I know that this is going to be an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower it a tad because I don't want this to feel squeezed, because I know that this frames the bottom part of my painting. It gets cropped. It's a good solid visual base. So it almost acts as a horizon line or as a landscape. But then I have like 3 floating elements. If I put them too close to the edge, I know that I'm going to be playing with fire here in terms of visual room for a viewer to go through this. All right, so the chandelier has a base. I'm going to do that base, and it's higher. When I look at things inside of the silhouette, I multitask constantly. My observation or my eyes go to one element, and then they go to what that element looks like in relationship to something else. I never isolate my decisions. And there's a learning curve. I'm going to use a different expression, habit curve. I don't know if that makes sense or not. A habit curve. You guys correct me later. In the sense that this doesn't happen just like this. Maybe I'll be able to multitask between two elements, what I'm drawing and the relationship to what I'm drawing. But over time, over time meaning months and years, that multitasking expands to many things at the same time. Composition, silhouette, alignments, especially alignments. So our eyes are slowly but surely getting into the habit of constantly integrating and connecting between different things. So it's not multitasking, meaning two things at once. Maybe at the beginning it's two things at once, but then it's like 10 things at the same time before I move forward. Yeah, let's add a little drama. 10. I don't think it's 10, but I like the drops of glass, so this will be interesting. This will be an abstract version of the chandelier, maybe. And then there's stuff. There are wires and stuff and lines of beauty. And that's what I love about any painting or any composition, or this image in particular. It's the opposition of straight, uninterrupted lines and then organic forms. I love diversity. I love diversity. So diversity is, the love of diversity is reflected in many ways. And one of the ways it's reflected on is visually. I like oppositions. I like differences. It just gives me more play. But that's me. All right, so this will be my second stage, I guess. Potato shapes first, and then after that, maybe a little bit of refining. And I think I'm just gonna, yeah, check the time. Yeah, we have time. So I'm gonna go to values right now. So this was taken time in the day, in the afternoon. So there was some sort of reflection on the ceiling. And I just love that that light bouncing on the ceiling. So this is pretty dark on the photograph. So what I'm doing is darker to lighter. So right now I'm trying to practice the organizing of my values. I could jump right away to painting, but I know that if I don't practice, then I'll just have I'll miss a step. So I like to be conservative with my painting approach, you guys. How's that? I'm coming out as a conservative painter. There you go. I'm making fun, obviously, but no, I just like to keep it grounded. I like to know where I am. And so I can make decisions moving forward, especially at the very beginning. Then we can always take risks later. We can always take risks later, but always be measured at the very beginning. I don't care how many years you've been painting. Always be measured in your approach. Don't gamble your painting away. So my values, I have to squint my eyes and find out where the darker areas are going to be. This is helping me so much already. And I know that if I would have jumped to painting right away, I would not have been able to enjoy the ample space that I find myself in right now to understand. It's all about giving myself space and time to understand how this painting is going to look like moving forward. I still don't know. I usually say we go from point A to point B, and we have no idea where point B is because we cannot see it. We don't know if it's far or near, and we cannot even think how we're going to get there if we cannot see it. So that's why everything at the very beginning, it's based on whatever steps we take from point A forward. I don't think about point B. I'm not worried about it. I have trust in myself. I know that one baby step at a time will get me there. And I don't hesitate to be strategic, thoughtful, measured. I try to use my brain a lot, not just my eyes. In regards of like brain and eyes, please look at your subject at least more than 50% of the time. At least. We have a tendency of not doing that. It's a habit. We look at our painting and our sketch, and then we make decisions. We forget that we are doing an observational process, which means we are feeding our decisions based on what we see. Our brain cannot, well, it can, but I was gonna say cannot make decisions. Of course it can make decisions. But what I'm doing right now, it's understanding that this is an observational process. So unless I look at the subject, which in this case is the photograph, I will be pulling things out of a hat. And that could go wrong really easily. All right. And there's a time and a place for everything. This is observational painting. It's not everything. There's a time and a place for everything. This is a good practice. And even if our painting style has nothing to do with this, I feel it's important we go through this kind of like traditional steps and then make the decision to do whatever we want. But yeah, I know that there's value right here, and there's this shadow of the chandelier. And yeah, that's one step at a time. It's 11:25. So I know that I'm okay with that, with this step. I always try to manage, understand, and think about where I'm at and how much more I have to do.
Julio, I think we lost one of the cameras.
Oh.
Is anyone else seeing that?
Yeah, someone's calling, so that's why.
Oh, okay.
I think, when the call, I'm gonna say decline, and it's gonna go back on.
Great. Okay, cool.
Thank you. Sorry about this, but yeah, I think it may happen. But if it happens again, just yeah, let me know, and I'll see if that's the case.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm looking at the sketch, and I'm really happy about how far I've gone in just a few minutes or half an hour, basically. I love the offset of the biggest element. I like the playful vent and the smoke detector. And I also like the fact that this gives me a sense of a room, because I brought in the the stop or the end of the horizontal surface and then the beginning of the upright surface. And I even think that with the little that I've done on this area right here, it almost looks like a mirror already. Because I'm happy and always move forward one step at a time, thinking that you could be content somewhat with whatever stage you are at if you had to live it right now. So I think it's always good to try to find the best possible outcome. And what does it mean, content? Because it looks like it's something that it's easy to say but hard to achieve. Yeah, I just try to be optimistic and find always the advantages of the outcome that I have. It's a mindset. It's not measurable, you guys. Contentment, enjoyment. It's not something that's measurable, factual, and exact. It's a matter of perspective, and yeah, it's a matter of perspective and mindset. So I don't set my expectations very, very high. So I know that I can find joy in every single stage. And this is as important as technique, I should say. So just good. I have like actually I have some time. So I'm gonna see if I can bring, I know you guys, you cannot see this, but I want to see if I can bring one of the, one of the websites. Jen, maybe you can text it to me and I can open it up. You know the website of the interview with Harry something off?
Stupinoff, yeah.
Yeah. Can you send it to me so I can open it? Like
The Jackson art one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got it.
Yeah.
You want me to text it to you?
Yeah, you can text it to me and then I'll just open the link. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna go over my stages, but there are so many juicy, wonderful things in that interview that we could apply, wise things in that interview that we could apply to our process. And I think it just kind of makes us feel good. But I'm ready for my next. I'm ready for my next stage, which will be transitioning from dry to wet. I'm using two liquids, the mineral spirits, and then the concoction of poppy seed oil and the solvent-free fluid. And this concoction has been here for a couple of weeks, so I just refresh it. Thanks, Jan. Okay, I just refresh it once in a while. I add more liquid, but in true rebel ways, I don't clean up my liquids that often, and unless they're so bad that you cannot even put a brush in them. Yeah, I just wanted to. Yeah, for example, I'm just going to bring up this part of the interview. Somewhere along the line, I came to understand that every fraction of a second the surface of the painting is touched is of paramount importance. The painting is a record of one's touch, which must always be purposeful and alive. I mean, I could just take each of the sentences and then memorize it. The paint must look like it was wished on or carried in by some electric force. It must not look labored or conscientious. When some passages inevitably end up this way, I edit and simplify so as to start almost fresh again. Although painting is not easy, it needs to look easy, period. So just gonna repeat that maybe a few times, because mostly for myself, because this could be, what is it called? I'll find the word. When it's the manifesto of roofless painters, we could just co-opt and add those notes as a manifesto, because yeah, it's very important. All right, so big brush. I'm gonna get my rag. And I am in love with the amount of neutrals that I have right here. I have so many neutrals. So I'm just gonna start with maybe the paint's gray. Yeah, the paint's gray, and I'm gonna make this super dark. Mineral spirits, a little bit of paint, guide yourself with the amount of charcoal that you have. Don't go too fast, and don't build something that doesn't exist. This is a very technical stage in which we prime the surface. I just switched from format and now I'm using surface. We prime the surface and then we seal the charcoal. And I'm doing it in an orderly way as much as possible, which means darker to lighter.
Hey Julio, do you have on your end ability to turn up your microphone at all?
Let me see.
Or just one of our painters is watching on her phone and it's just a little low for her.
I
don't. I'm not sure if that's something you can handle.
Yeah, let me see. I'm gonna go to audio settings. Microphone. It's input, output. Is this better? Is this a little bit louder?
It is a little louder. I think I can hear the difference. I wonder also if sometimes if you use earbuds, it can, not you, but the painters, it can like harness the sound a bit more too. So
yeah, I think the microphone, yeah, it's the highest that I can. I'm using, I'm not using the microphone of the laptop because it's not really good quality. So I'm using a professional microphone and you guys can see it. I have it right, can you see it? I have it right above my head. So it's...
You are a superstar. Elton John, ladies and gentlemen.
It cannot be any louder. Laura, what is Laura? When I say louder, I always...
I got a text from her today. She's still in Chicago.
I love when she introduces herself. She's like, my name is Laura, like louder.
Right.
And then people look at her, it's like, wait, what? But now when I say louder, I remember her. I'm sorry. I cannot make it any more. I'm sorry to that painter using the... Maybe if they could use an earphone.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the solution too. Block out any of that outside noise for them as well.
Let me know if it's, let me know if it becomes super annoying. Yeah, I just don't think I can do anything more. Yeah, no, I just checked the settings. Okay, let me know, Jen, if that's a problem.
You got it.
Okay, for that person. Sorry so anyhow, I'm just gonna go mineral spirits, and I was saying this is a very technical stage, the most technical stage in the entire process. There's no unclear function here. It is what it is, meaning the purpose of it, it's to seal the charcoal and prime the surface, or the other way around, prime the charcoal, seal the surface. And I'm using darker to lighter as much as I can, because it just, everything that I do, it's not because that's it. This is the only way of doing this. I'm doing it because I am building on what I did before in a matter of repetition. So I did charcoal darker to lighter. So if I do wash darker to lighter, I know that I'm reinforcing a structure and a scale that's going to help me make decisions later. But if I do everything moving forward without any connection with the stage before, it's not going to help me think of integration or think how what area needs to be worked on. So the purpose is to continue the same thought process, but with different techniques. So slowly but surely, I am building on a solid sound structure that will allow me to make decisions forward. So if I do the sketch and then I don't do the charcoal, and then I start the wash, and I don't find an organization from darker to lighter, I'm building a paper boat. I'm not going to understand the integration, and I'm only going to feel like I'm behind, I'm catching on. I try to close gaps. I don't feel comfortable with that position. I just want to build on, yeah, from what I did before. So this is possibly the best way to explain why I'm using this method, or this step-by-step, if you want to call it. Um, because I always address it as if it were separate. You know, I'm just going to do this, and then it's okay. You guys, if you have painted a long time with me, you don't have to do it. I know it's, if you don't do it, you'll find yourself weaker later, unless you have superpowers. And I should say that I speak for myself, because in my case, I know that I'm in a weaker position if I don't consider any of these things early in the stage. So because everything's pretty much harmonious or neutral, I'm using just one color for my wash, the Payne's Gray. Maybe I'll just start using a little bit of the yellow ochre to just kind of like create some sort of like gold, metallic gold effect. Yeah, and maybe I just brought ultramarine and cerulean blue, which is a different kind of blue that I think goes better with the crystal drops. And then in the end, I mean, inside, I think I'm just going to do an interpretation of the wire. I'm working fast. I'm not being exact right now. And then try to fill in a little bit with I think that would be, oh, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. So I'm done with my wash. Yeah, 1140. That's not too bad. Have I accomplished what I intended to accomplish? Yes. And what was that? I primed the surface, so everything pretty much is wet, and I sealed the charcoal. Check and check. Have I followed a certain order with my values? Yes. So now I understand where the light is and the areas with absence of light. So I have much more knowledge, much more understanding, and I'm better prepared to move forward, because everything that I've done so far, it's been building on the same concept, you know, organization, lighter, darker to lighter, one step at a time. So the other way of approaching this is zooming into likeness right away and say, okay, I just have this and this and this. I want to make sure that they show up and they are recognizable, and forgetting about everything else. For me, by experience, it just doesn't make me feel like I'm in a stronger position to make decisions. I just feel like everything's too fragmented and all over the place. So stick with one concept and develop it rather than just jump around. We can jump around later, but and jump around, I mean, let's just analyze that. I can talk about it a little bit later, but I'm ready for my first notes. So I'm just going to move. I'm going to close this chapter and move forward. First notes, I'm changing my brush. I'm going to use medium brush. And now I'm just going to use the medium, the combination, the concoction of mediums as a carrier for my paint, And the mineral spirits will be just to clean the brush in between. And that's what's going to change. But what's not going to change is the darker to lighter approach. And what are our first notes? So when we have our wash, I want to build a layer on top of the wash that creates body and a certain opacity and starts defining some of the edges. But it's a very simplified mosaic-like approach. I'm not doing details or anything like that. I'm just, it's a blocking out, basically blocking out. So I'm gonna start using, maybe I need a green. I need a green, but I'm gonna make a green first with a yellow ochre and maybe the ultramarine. Yes, that's not bad. So I was gonna go to green paint, but it would have been too bright. So I'm finding alternatives to make that secondary color. Alternative to yellow, yellow ochre, and then I'm using ultramarine. That's basically primary color. Okay, that's good. So what I'm doing right now is creating the formula. Checking, look what I'm doing. I just did it. You probably won't see it on the, let me see if I tilt it slightly. Yeah. I am making the color right here. I'm making the color right here, and I use the yellow ochre and the blue. And then with my brush, I put the brush right next to it. I can even paint either over it or right next to it. And I know it's hard because the quality of the image is not great because of the video, but I can, here we go. I like to test the colors because I know that I may make the color here and think that that's okay, but I need to make sure it is okay. So I need to test it. And so I'm happy with that combination. So what I'm doing right now is going from darker to lighter. And that, in my view, involves to start with the walls. I'm always making, or I'm always putting emphasis on how important your negative space is. And I'm going to explain that again. The difference between negative space and positive space, it's not about good or bad. It's about the difference between positive meaning what's tangible, what has physicality, what it's, yeah, you can grab. So objects, people, botanical elements. Negative space is the intangible, the background, air, or whatever it's on a visual plane that's further away. So on mainstream approach to talk about positive and negative space, it would be positive space is the most important, negative space is the least important. Well, I don't think that's the case. In fact, and I find myself like not 100% of the time, but mostly the majority of the time, I want to take care of my negative space because I know if I do, I will help the positive space so much. So I'm just going to go back to that sentence right there. A painting is not easy. Although painting is not easy, it needs to look easy. So the paint must look like it was wished on or carried by some electric force. So for me, creating that effect or achieving that effect of almost making it look like something without making it look like it's struggling to be something. If I work on the negative space, I can achieve that. I can let the negative space define the object more and more. So that's why I find that it's very important, very important. So in my case, I'm happy, very important to work on the negative space. I'm happy that I have my darkest areas on the negative space, which in this case, it's the wall. Because I feel like this, it's more like the objects to look at. All right, so I'm gonna clean my brush, make sure that I don't have that green there. And what can I do? I'm gonna go by value here. I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna go by value. So oops, that's way too dark. So I'm gonna do the grill. I think it's called the grill. Of the vent. Okay, that's okay. And then I'm gonna do the cast shadow behind the smoke detector. Maybe some of this grill right here. Okay, good. And what else? I am going to bring a new color, and I'm just gonna go in front of the camera, you guys, but I'm sorry, but yes. All right, I'm cheating right now, and I apologize. So we talked about two kinds of blacks, a cold black and a warm black. And we always use the cold black because I think it's better than the black is black. And that's Payne's Gray. But we bought a tube of the warm black, Van Dyke Brown. I'm gonna use it right now. If you don't have Van Dyke Brown right now, it's okay. You can make a darker black by mixing the Payne's Gray, if you have it, with a little bit of the raw umber. But the Van Dyke Brown is a much darker version of the raw umber. And raw umber, it's such a gorgeous color. We put it in our palette all the time. So yeah, this is just fantastic. I love this Van Dyke Brown. So I'm just gonna basically say some gossip right now, but hopefully it's gonna make you smile. We are repainting the front gate of the house because it was all corroded, and I don't know. I mean, I think people are doing a lot of like projects, house projects. Well, guess what color we picked? Van Dyke Brown for the gate. And Keanu's like, what are you talking about? And so, yeah, our gate is now Van Dyke Brown. How about that? Oh, forgive me. Yeah. All right, so I'm just doing darks right now. Yeah, darker to lighter. Let's sort of like not get distracted. It's good to get distracted. Go back to where we are. I'm doing first notes, and I'm doing darker to lighter. So I'm just building some opacity in certain areas, and but I'm still focused on darker to lighter. And I haven't gone by location yet. By location is when I switch to a single area, and then I develop that area. Yes, period. So right now, yes, I'm being a little bit, I'm staying a little bit longer here, but what I'm doing is patching, blocking the darker areas on this object. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna use the big brush right now because I want to put first notes on the ceiling, on the actual ceiling, from darker to lighter. And I feel like the medium brush, it's not working for me. So this is going to be gray. And I want to find out if that gray is okay or if I need to darken it. And I need to darken it just a tad. Yeah, I need to darken it a little bit. And actually, I find that the gray is really cold. The gray paint, the Portland medium gray that I have, I need to tarnish it with some yellow ochre. I love finding or discovering variations of the neutrals as I start spending more time looking at things. So I'm going to concentrate on the ceiling and try to build a first note layer, that brings a certain opacity. There's a vignette effect. And I'll have to, the challenge here is to build, and I'm gonna start using some white, you guys. I generally wait a little bit longer for white because I like to make sure that I build my darks, but I feel like inevitably, if I want to build opacity right now, that I'm driving my values towards the lighter scale, if I use only the carrier, the medium, and paint, it's just going to be a wash over a wash and nothing's going to really form. So I have to bring some white, and in this case it is white, because usually in general terms, when that happens, I try to resource or I try to use the linen or the ecru color because it's a good substitute for white. But in this case, I think I cannot. So I'm gonna, this paint is gonna have a lot of white paint. Let's just, I'm gonna correct myself. A lot of white paint, not a lot of white. But the only whitish area is gonna be right here. If you notice, if you see the highlight. I'm having so much fun. This is such a good exercise. Such a good exercise. I remember after I sent out the email, I remember that we did something similar. Some of you remember that we did ceiling fans a while ago. I forgot the reason why. I think it was summertime and there was a conceptual reason behind it. So we did this before actually. And I love those paintings. I'm gonna see if I can find some of those paintings. There's a little bit of warmth. This is what I absolutely love about this assignment. This is gonna be about temperature and value on a large surface. Because, yeah, we don't get to do that often. Everything is super full of details, but with this, it's a single large surface and it's not just going to be uniform. It's just going to have variations. And this is the core of our painting, how we actually treat the variations of light on the ceiling. That's the, I don't like to use that expression because you know why? It's the meat and potatoes. I need to start finding a different expression for this. I don't want to use meat and potatoes. So Jen, help me out here. I don't know.
At one point we were using Cadillac.
I know, the Cadillac. Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, it's the Cadillac.
But wait, but meat and potatoes is a little different because I think we were saying the filet mignon for Cadillac.
Oh.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so meat and potatoes. Okay, let me think of a different one.
The Cadillac kind of like works. Yeah, the filet mignon, it's out of our vocabulary. Yeah. And okay, so you guys, let me just bring you up to speed. When we used to use acrylic, there's a small factory in Culver City, Nova Acrylics, that manufactures really high quality acrylics, much better than Golden. And it's made in LA and it's family owned and professional artists. By the way, if you're using acrylic or you have acrylic, switch. Golden, it doesn't even come close to Nova Acrylics. So I was talking with a person at Nova Acrylics and they had different reds. And as you know, not all reds are equal, and the cadmium red to me feels very orange. So he said, yeah, and you guys know I'm vegetarian. And then he said, yeah, this is the filet mignon of reds. It was like, okay. Thank you. See, I'm just bringing it up. That's how traumatized I was about that comments. Anyhow, so that's, yeah, I need to find an alternative for meat and potatoes. All right, this has nothing to do with what we're doing right now, and I'm just gonna bring focus. I'm bringing a little bit of blue. Yeah, I'm seeing blue. Insert. Whoa, that's too much blue. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna. I think I'm getting carried away, and I need to focus. It's way too much blue, way too much color. I have to focus on value. There's actually much more of a darker note than there is of color. So let's just go back to making an adjustment here. Sorry, yeah, that was another phone call, and this is very unusual. Yeah, it's very unusual. So I think it's just gonna be okay. But all right, time-wise, oh my gosh, that's so good. We're 2 minutes away from the first hour, and we're doing first notes. It's pretty awesome. And I'm gonna bring some white, titanium white. How about that in this area? Sort of like the conclusion going from darker to lighter. This is such a, it's just such a star of this painting, that reflection. It's as important as the chandelier, in my opinion. See, I mean, how negative space is as important. Why does this pretty thing have to be the focus? No, it's not the focus. It's one of the protagonists. But this white is as important as the chandelier. Yeah, I think that's working well so far. The crown molding. I need to address that, and that's going to be my last minute before the hour. And I'm doing a test. This is okay. This is sort of like, okay, it's okay. I'm going for it. I'm going for it. There's a transition, so I'm just going to bring a little bit more gray and maybe some white. Reminding myself of that expression, painting is not easy. Painting is not easy, but it needs to look easy. I love that. I need to write to this painter. It's not fair. I'm just going to write to him and say, hey, I love what you said so much that I'm going to use it. And I'll give you credit for it. All right, so this is it, right? I have a corner and that I haven't done. So let me just see if I can bring this bronzy color right here on the other side. And it's a little bit darker. Okay, a little bit darker, a little bit darker. All right, right now I'm just making a patch that doesn't make any sense, but it's okay. All right, so this is my first notes. These are my first notes. I should probably done a little bit of the blue to finish the first notes, but that's it. That's not too bad. Again, it's good to take stock, I think. I don't know if that's the expression, but to pause and find out where we are, how far we've gone, close this chapter, and make sure that we have built enough foundation for us to move forward. I take some time, it could be 10 seconds or less, but I take some time because I need to tell myself what I've learned from the work that I've done. Because again, this is sort of like all a continuation, an organic expansion that starts from our first mark on the paper. And from that mark, everything builds on top of it or on it. So there needs to be a certain integration between the very beginning of our process and where we are right now. Because if we chop it up and then we don't think of it as an organic expansion, we're not going to learn anything. We're not going to be able to carry that experience and knowledge from the very beginning moving forward. So for me, it's important to pause and find out, where I'm at. I did first notes right now, and I learned something about darker and lighter and the different temperatures of the gray. So right now I'm better. I'm ready. I have more of a set of tools to make better decisions moving forward that are not going to be completely random. I think that's the word, random. Randomness. We think of art and creation based on randomness alone. Although chance and randomness are part of the process, they're not. They're the consequence of it. They're not the core. So don't rely only on randomness, expecting that that's going to take you somewhere. Have a clear understanding of what you've learned. It could be one thing, oh, I realized that the ceiling, it's not all gray, that there's a darker gray or there's a warmer gray. That's a knowledge that I want to make sure I put it in my basket so I can just use it moving forward, figuratively speaking, obviously. Yes. And all right, so we have an hour, and that's awesome, and that's great. And there's a lot of work to do. One of the things that I love about subjects that look simple is how much complex and intricate they are. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my medium brush, use the big brush for the larger area. And I'm gonna do my second notes. I'm gonna explain, mostly I explain this for myself, but I'm gonna explain exactly what second notes are and what the expectation is. Second notes is when I take one area, one blocked out area, again, building on what we did. And one area of the painting, I'm just gonna use the darker one, this one right here. And what I'm doing is I'm creating variations of the color on that area, variations of the value of the color. I'm sorry, not variations of the color, variations of the value. This is sort of like a dark khaki green on my painting, and I blocked it out. It's blocked, it's solid, it's kind of like the same thing. But on my subject, there are variations. It's a little bit darker where the door is, and there's a little bit of a lighter tone right here. So I have to go back to my palette, find out where I did that color, and then create darker and lighter versions of that color. So this is the definition of second notes. Second notes are not about doing details, although I'm gonna develop the details as a consequence of doing this. They're not necessarily about blending too much. Although I'm gonna do blending, yeah, never mind. Yeah, it's mostly about widening the variations of that color in that area. All right, same carrier, but a little bit less of it. And I'm gonna do darker to lighter. Why a little bit less? Because what I'm doing right now, I wanna make sure that my brush strokes stick. They stick on top of the area. If you're not looking at your subject more than 50% of the time, your painting will suffer. How's that for a damning statement that no instructor should use? But yeah, and do the test. you can do the test yourself. Force yourself to just look at the subject an extra second, and you'll realize that you're discovering things that were not in your brain when you were flickering back and forth. Important things right now to consider. The pressure of the brush against the painting surface matters now. So if you put the same pressure, you're going to be brooming the pigment all over the place. So be a little gentler in regards of how much pressure you put. Follow darker to lighter. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your life easier. If you put too much carrier, too much medium, you're going to be doing a wash over a wash over a wash, and nothing's going to come out of it. So make sure there's paint. And when you apply that, it stays on top. The direction of the brush is also very important right now. So make it non-conforming. So instead of like making all these long areas, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to do vertical brush stroke. So it just makes it less predictable. Okay. Actually, I did that test. I spent more time looking at the painting. I'm sorry, at the subject. And I realized by spending an extra 3 seconds that there is something here that needs to be a tad darker. This is one of the mysteries or tricks of the trade that doesn't involve technique at all. Simply look at the subject longer. And your painting will be better. How's that? Look at the subject a little longer. And then I'm just going to do that. And then I'm happy that I'm working on negative space. And in this particular view, negative space is the surroundings of the objects hanging from the ceiling, or hanging on the ceiling, or on the ceiling. So I consider this the negative space. It's still tangible because I'm doing a door, but yeah, it's not the main visual plane. All right, I'm gonna do a test. This is too dark. I'm gonna do a test right here. Yeah, I need to make it a little less. So if you notice, I make paint. It's too blue. It's way too blue. I need to bring some of the raw umber and make it a little darker. And then I test the color. And what I'm doing right now, it's on the bottom corner. It's base. It's not, I would say it's not in the center of the paper. So it seems very peripheral, right? But I'm just gonna read that other sentence because I think it's very important. Every fraction of a second the surface of the painting is touched is of paramount importance. The painting is a record of one's touch, which must always be purposeful and alive. I'm just gonna go back to my painting right now because I know that this peripheral area that has no sense whatsoever right now, I know it's extremely important, as important as the pretty teardrop blue glass beads hanging from the chandelier. So yes, period. Yeah. Such a good assignment to practice all those things, you guys. I'm so happy you are painting this with us because it's so good to go over these things. So good. I'm gonna try to bring the lighter element here on the crown molding because that's gonna be important. And then this lighter line right here. Remember the pressure. If it doesn't stick, either put a little bit more paint on the brush and see if with gentler pressure the paint sticks. And if it doesn't, then just wipe off the area and start again. That's an easy fix. Of course, I'm not trying to be photographic with my work, but I just love the nuances between the tones. So this is when randomness works, randomness or chance. I have a purpose, and the purpose is, oh my gosh, that sounded very strong. I would have never said that by itself. I have a purpose with my painting. I know that I want to take care of that area right there. The chance comes into play when I paint, and it creates things that are unpredictable, and I find that beautiful and interesting. But make no mistake, that's not the beginning or the initiating thought behind my brushstroke. The core of it is the purpose to bring nuances on the crown molding. The consequence is random highs and lows and ebbs and flows on the edge or along the edge. Very important distinction, because I feel like, we think that just by bringing chance and randomness, we're going to be off the hook. And again, that is the definition of gambling. Good luck with that, because I'm a terrible gambler. Yeah, of course, I would happily spend the rest of my day just with the crown molding, but I'm just gonna, oh no, we have time. I'm thrilled. We have a little bit of time. Yeah, 12:14, perfect. Okay, and this is a little bit darker. So I'm just gonna focus on darker, yeah, a little bit darker. Every area counts, every stroke, and I love the use of the word paramount. Every stroke is paramount, or every, yeah. All right, so I just did the darker area right here. The door, it's cranked open a tad, and then the double pane of the window, of the mirror. So a little bit of a highlight. I think I'm gonna develop that later, but I'm not unhappy. I'm just gonna bring some of that gray right here, because I feel like I need to find a finish on this corner. A finish on this corner. Yeah, and then there's a lighter line here. The gentler touch against will allow you to leave paint on top of it. Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, for now, I didn't expect this part to be so engaging and interesting, but I love the variations of light on the crown molding. This is something that I want to spend more time. I think this is so interesting and beautiful, but I think I've done enough work, second notes on this part right here. It's certainly developed, and it's always a good idea to look always one step behind and never 10 steps forward, because you don't know what that's going to look like. So why waste time imagining what this should look like 10 steps ahead of us? It's a waste of time. We're not being efficient. But if I just look back and see how far that step that I took led me, then I just feel so successful in my progress. All right, so I think I did this, and then I think I'm gonna do the vent, you guys. I think I'm gonna do the vent. I'm gonna let's kind of like strategize. 12, 15, basically I have 45 minutes, and I want to spend time definitely with Chandelier. I know that this could be one single session, 2 hours, and I'll probably work on this later if yeah, if I can, I will, because it's gorgeous. But I have to manage the time that I have left. So I think these two little guys are so beautiful. And I always like to root for the underdog. So I feel there's going to be an intention, conceptual intention behind painting these two little features right here, the underdogs of my view of the ceiling. I'm going to paint the underdogs, you guys. And then the chandelier of maybe just like 20 minutes and see how far I go. All right, let's do it. So the grill, it needs, I feel like this is a little bit fuzzy. So I'm gonna bring some white. I'm not using the thin brush yet, but I think, and then there's this area that's a little bit lighter. I'm using the tip of the brush to create lines and the side of the brush to block out. Yeah. And then let me see, there's some of those vents or the grills are open in one direction. So I am just going to see if I can just add some details. I don't have to be photographic, but I know that whatever amount of strokes, thoughtful, purposeful, like Harry is saying, purposeful strokes, it will just lead me, it will be a leap forward, a giant leap. Yeah, it's slowly. Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Just a couple of like um, messing up with some of those areas, basically. See if I can just darken the diagonal grills or plates. The key is not to make it too dark because it's going to stand out too much. Yeah. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. It's starting to look a little bit. And then there's some darker areas. Still using a medium brush. So I didn't switch to the tiny one. I don't think I will need to. Simplification. It's so, it's very important. Yeah, I think so. I am okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Maybe I'm gonna work on the surrounding areas because what makes the vent show, it's not just the grill or those areas, it's the way it's anchored on the ceiling. And that is another example of how the negative space of something could really make you or help you develop that object. And I also am just gonna make it a little bit more warm. I realize now, right now, I realize I'm just gonna check, it's too green. I'm gonna check by painting on the sides and see, whoop, it's too dark. I think this is about right. Always testing. Yeah. I think so. So, yeah, I like the fact that I used this little guy first. I said I identified those two as the underdogs, but painting this one right here helped me because it almost made me expand my developed area on the bottom of the painting a little bit further. So I'm gaining ground. I didn't expect that. That's one of the things that I mentioned earlier. Um, Everything I learn about the painting, I try to save it and carry it forward. So, so I become a stronger, in a stronger position of making better decisions. So yeah, this was good. This was a good decision, and it just gave me results and benefits that I didn't even expect it, but I receive them now as a bonus almost. Okay, so much so that this is gonna help me see if I can just do this highlight right here. Softer light. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. And I'm just gonna create a softer, yeah, a little softer. Okay, that's okay. Yeah. All right. So one underdog down. Yeah, it's 5 minutes. Just gonna, or 8 minutes before the last half an hour remaining. I'm gonna do the other underdog, the smoke detector. The smoke detector. This is good. I'm happy about this, and I'm happy. It's so much more work to do, obviously, but I feel I'm moving forward. All right, so this is very big right now. I feel like this smoke detector is giant, and I need actually, here, I'm at a crossroads right now. Do I make it as big as it is, or do I shrink it? Right now, I see this, my multitasking mind that has 10 things at the same time, juggling 10 thoughts at the same time. So now I'm bringing the 11th thought, which means that I realize now that this is much bigger than I anticipated or when I did it. So the crossroads right now that I'm at, do I shrink this or do I keep it? And I'm deciding to keep it this size because nobody's gonna know. And I think giving this a little bit more protagonism, since this is in the dark, it's just gonna be a nice balance with a chandelier. So I don't want the chandelier to take all the credit of this painting. So I'm keeping it big. And I'm gonna use the conservative approach to painting this, which is darker to lighter. Spending more than 50% of the time looking at the subject. It's so easy. It's such an easy premise. But we have such a hard time doing it. Yeah, spend more time looking at the subject, you guys. I'm discovering so much when I do. I love to surprise myself. It's like yeah. It's like a solitary game. Why do we need someone to play with us? We're having so much fun with our painting. That's probably not a good analogy. Sorry about that, but yeah, it's that thrill of discovering things that I love so much in painting. Thinking, occupying my mind with decisions. Um, it's so enjoyable. All right, so I think I need to make some adjustments because this is looking a little bit weird. So I know that I need to shave off and I need to expand because right now this oval, it's a little bit wonky, but I'm on it. I'm on it. Let me see if I just work on the area inside. So right now I'm becoming a sculptor. I said, you know, we have to be both the artists and the viewers. Well, the artists or the painters sometimes need to also become sculptors because I need to build or rebuild. I think that's a word. I need to rebuild that thing right there. Partly it's the surrounding is going to help me rebuild it. So as usual, the negative space around a subject can help us develop the subject indirectly. And this will apply here too. I guarantee you. Okay, let me just see if I can bring some white. Gentle brush. This is slowly, I'm forming it a little bit more. So I'm happy about that result, but I know that I need to, this is probably too white. Is it too white? Let me just do it. Yeah, I'm shaving it from the outside. Oh yeah. Oh, another example, negative space. If you work on the negative space of things, it's just gonna be so much, you're gonna make your life so much easier. All right, so that, well, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I barely put any paint. And that's something also very important because sometimes if we fuss too much, if we fuss about it too much, it's just gonna look like zero electricity there, like the interview said, alive and some electric force doing things by wish. Well, you know, fussing with it, it's not gonna, yeah, it's not gonna get us there. So it's always a fine line between recreating and fussing. I feel like this needs to be a little lighter. And always, for me, always observation, looking at the subject a little bit longer will help me find out what it needs. Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, I'm kind of like happy with it. Let me see, let me soften this. Without any paint, what I'm doing is just softening those edges because anything that has a hard edge will be read as a shape. So circular movements, small circular movements in order to fade any edges. Yeah, I think that's good. And I'll probably have to do some fading right here. Well, I think I'm not as happy with smoke detector as I am with vent, but I'm just gonna leave it here because part of being efficient with our time is to be able to manage the time that we have left. So 12:30, perfect time. I said that I was gonna just give it a few minutes before moving on to something else. And I think, all right, so I have half an hour and now I'm gonna make a change in my decision. Because they said I was gonna work, well, no, I said I was gonna work 20 minutes on this. So I'm gonna stick to that strategy and maybe in the next 5 minutes, let's see if I can do 5 or less than 10. I think I need to work on the protagonist of this painting, the ceiling. So notice you guys that I've been painting things around and stuff, but not the star of this show, which is the ceiling. I'm going to do it right now in 10 minutes, but I'm not regretting anything because I know that everything else I did prior to what I'm going to do right now, it's helping me so much in now having to create variations. If I would have started with the ceiling, without the experience and the knowledge that I have right now that I'm bringing to the table, I don't know what would have happened. I would have probably have to work on it again. So first decision, I think I'm just gonna use the small brush and I'm gonna do darker to lighter. So, all right, so this is gonna be my next 10 minutes. Whoa, this is too dark. My next 10 minutes concentrated on the ceiling. And then the last 20 minutes, it will be chandelier time. I like to go from broad or unspecific or negative space to more specific. Let me see. And this is blending time. Blending time. So creating variations of that. Yeah, variations of that gray. On a large surface, yeah. That is not easy, but we're gonna make it look easy. So shorter strokes. I know there are gonna be some marks on the painting, and that's okay, I'm fine with that, at least at this stage. All right, so let's kind of like do the darker shadow. Darker shadow, here we go. Let me see, let me check. It's a little bit too dark, but I think it's gonna be okay. Some raw umber. Whoa, no, that needs a little bit of ecru. Ecru, I need to, let me see. Yeah, I think that's good. Oh yeah, I think that's okay. So I'm gonna try to do darker to lighter on the shadow. So the shadow is not contained, it's just fuzzy. So I'm just gonna do the contained area for now. I need to shave it from the top. Whoa, it's a lot of white. And then this is a kind of like a smudge. And it's kind of like cool in temperature. Let me see if I can do it. If I put too much medium here, or yeah, it's just gonna be a wash over a wash. So I have to, yeah, I have to put paint. Always look at the subject a lot. All right, let me see. Okay, so it's very strong right now. It's very strong, but I'm just gonna soften it a little bit. I'm gonna soften the edges. Oh yeah, you guys. I can tell you right now. One thing. So last Tuesday, some of you saw me or listened to me talk about zinc white. I didn't have a chance to do a demonstration. I'm gonna do that next Tuesday, but I bought zinc white for the first time. I've never had it. I had zinc titanium, but never zinc white. So I put a little bit of zinc on my palette right now. And remember, zinc white, it's the least opaque, most transparent of all the whites, whatever range there is. The chalkiest and the one with the most coverage is the titanium white, which is the one we use all the time. But I'm experimenting right now with the zinc white. And I can tell you for this assignment, this zinc white is wonderful. Why? Because I know that it's not going to give me a super chalky feeling or super chalky surface. So I'm using zinc white to soften some of the darker shadows that I have right here. Squinting my eyes. And just creating, what I'm doing is I'm creating a little bit of a layer outside of the dark mark. Why? Because then I can clean my brush. I can clean my brush, and with very gentle, super dry, no medium, no nothing, with very gentle strokes along the edges, I can start blending that shadow. So when I blend, I wipe off a lot, because what happens is that right now I applied the dark first and I applied the lighter area right next to it. So with a clean brush, I can go in between on that edge and start smearing it, softening it, smudging it. But the thing is that if I carry doing it for a long time, my brush is going to start getting paint in it. And then instead of like blushing, I'm going to start muddling that area. So blending involves a lot of brush cleaning, I would say. So right now, I'm just looking. I'm looking at and wiping it off. A few strokes and wiping it off. Because I put enough paint on both sides. So you cannot do this unless you have enough paint on both sides. Because otherwise it'll be so dry that you won't have anything to smudge. Yeah, slowly, and it's starting to get a little smoky, which is what I wanted. This area needs to be a little softer, so really gently, I'm just going there, and then blending just the edge with that. There's a lot of paint on the upper area, so I need to be extra careful. And I'm following a very, what is it called? Non-conforming stroke. So I'm not doing the same direction of the shadow. I'm just cutting in with vertical hatching motion. The core of the shadow needs to be a little bit darker. So now I can maneuver inside of the shadow, and this needs to be shaped. So I need a little bit more of that. I'm sculpting the shadow right now. So now that I've created more of a ghostly effect, I can go back in and make some touches. Yeah, I think this is like, yeah, it's not too bad. This is what I was looking for, a little bit ghostly effect, and I needed to blend for that. So it just diffuses it a tad, and I need to empty out the heaviness of some of the shadows. So I'm using the zinc white, because with the zinc white, I realized that I can apply it inside without creating a whiteout effect. In that sense, this is just brilliant, this paint. I don't think I would use this all the time, but I can see now why this could be a great white to have. Because it's not whiting the whole thing out. I mean, with titanium white, we're going to be doing like heavy marks and then wiping them off because it becomes very chalky. So this is my first experimentation with the zinc white. I need to soften this. I see so much right now. I see so much that I want to do. And I'm going to use a little bit of zinc white. I mean, I'm sorry, titanium white. Look at the difference to bring more of a highlight. Look at the difference between the titanium white that I use and the zinc white that I use inside. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, now I can make this much lighter. This, I would say this is for you guys, you can, if you want, you can explore it. If you have extra money and you want to buy some zinc white, I think I highly recommend it. But this is an advanced, I would say this is an advanced stage. Look how many years it took me to incorporate zinc white and understanding it. Yeah, absolutely. And perfect. It was 12 minutes instead of 10. So I have 10 minutes. I want to do so much more here because this shadow, it's darker at the core and then it fades slightly. But I think I'm okay. Yeah, I'm going to take a 1 minute break. This was intense and wow, fantastic. So, all right, the glamorous subject, 20 minutes. How do we do this? All right, so color is important right here. I think my strategy will be, because I need to simplify this a lot, and I have a lot that's helping me, although I would wish I would have more time to work on the ceiling. The ceiling alone, I can tell you, it would be a solid 2-hour lesson or session. The ceiling alone. So there's so much that I can see right now that I want to do that I think it would create such an impact. But it is what it is. I have 20 minutes and I have to come up with a strategy. So my first thing is that I'm going to try to close the gaps that show some of the charcoal, because I feel like that's going to make it a little bit more integrated. And then after that, I think, I'm not sure, but I'm almost sure that I'm going to just add the color, the beads. Yeah, let's see, because I think that's what's pretty about it. And that's going to be it. I know that's going to push me to the final 2 hours, but let's see how far I can go. So mostly I'm just going to use some carrier and some of the, I'm going to use some of the zinc white actually to close those gaps. How about that? Because I don't want this to be a total whiteout. Yeah, I'm using the carrier, the medium, the concoction, and some zinc white to close the gaps without having to be afraid of making any marks. Yeah, I can see it. I can totally see now how the zinc white works. Yeah, and then I'll start with the drips. I just used titanium white, and look, this super crazy mark right here that now I find myself fading. I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole as much as we want, but there's one white paint that it's a combination of zinc and titanium, and that's the one that I have. And I thought that that was a zinc one. But, you know, I think that's just too nuts. It's too much going on. So we can do this with titanium white, no problem. If you feel like you want to go down the rabbit hole, I think you should consider incorporating zinc white, but it's not, yeah, it's not crucial. I can see why it's so awesome, but all right. So I'm just gonna make sure that nothing in the painting looks parched. That's basically the goal. I'm not defining so much, and now I'm using only medium. But I feel like it's important to close those gaps before I start saying, okay, well, I'm just gonna do this wire right here and the glass rosette right there. So I'm just gonna do that later. But for now, I wanna water this painting. So then I can start making decisions in the next few minutes. Yeah, it's already looking, oops, sorry. It's already looking much more integrated. Nice. I am I'm happy. All right, so let's go for the beads. How are we going to do this? This is, I'm going to check the color. I'm going to check the color. Yeah, I'm going to go full on ultramarine. Perfect example of how color could work on a painting. You don't have to put it, wow, I think that's a lot of blue, but I'm going for it. I've never done this like this before, meaning like full strength color like that. Yeah, I'm going for it. Let me just do one bead before I carry on, because the idea would be to use 3 blues. Ultramarine, cerulean for the slightly less, and finally the radium blue, the super pale. Oh yeah, I think it's working. Oh yeah, I think it's working. Yes! Oh, I love this. Okay, so this is working. I've never done this before, using straight up blue, ultramarine blue on a painting. This is so anti-ruthless painters, because we usually mix it with some color. But I just went for it, and I think it worked. And if you notice, I want you to uh, see my process. I started to get carried away, and I thought I'm going to do one blue at a time. But since this is so unfamiliar, I thought, let me just try the strategy on one bead and then see. So I have 3 blues, and I think it worked. Let me see if I can blend a little bit. So of course, you know, you do it once and then you're not super happy. You always feel like you have to go back and, but yeah, a few blending. Oh, it is working. Oh, come on. All right, I'm doing it. 10 minutes. It's just gonna be all drops of blue. I'm not gonna do anything in the wires of this chandelier. And this is what I mean by learning and recognizing or analyzing the experience and then carrying it forward. Why do I want to paint the chandelier right now if the beads are going to make it for me? So yeah, great example of that. So let me see. I'm not going to do all the beads or the teardrops. And I have to make sure this, as happy as I was, this could easily turn south and be a game of decorating. I know how that goes. So we get super excited, and then all of a sudden that gets, goes south. So I'm just going to be really mindful. I'm going to be mindful and make sure that I can, I will bite something that I can chew, or whatever that expression is. Because otherwise, who knows? Who knows? And I'm doing the darker part of the bead. So again, between decorating and strategizing, I'm not painting the whole thing and then painting it over. No, paint over here. those 3 hanging. There are more, but I think I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna bite something that I can chew. I'm gonna go to the now cerulean, and I'm gonna bring cerulean in the parts of the crystal that are slightly lighter. I'm not being perfect right now. I'm just adding a very gentle stroke to build on that. I can wait to see your paintings, you guys. This is a super good assignment. Slowly building up, so that's good. And then this one lower. So a little bit of the drop. I just did the bit, but now the drop is a little bit lighter. So I'm just doing the drops right now. Okay. Yeah, and then I'm gonna have some time to even do more stuff. Maybe not. I'm gonna do the lighter blue. And I'm using a medium brush, you guys, and this is tiny, so this is probably a little bit too light, so I'll probably need to blend. I think with the titanium white, there's some beads that reflect the light outside. I'm gonna do a dot so the surface look glass-like. Yes. All right. Again, not trying to be photographic, just creating the illusion of it. Of course, each bead is just sensational, but I'm not going the Vermeer way. Okay, so let's just put it this way. Plus, Vermeer cheated because he used mirrors. So there you go. We can do better than Vermeer. All right, so a little bit lighter at the bottom here. And then I'm just gonna bring titanium white. And this is the only part that I'm gonna use a small brush, because I think I just want a tiny dot. And this white out chalky effect of the titanium pigment can help me just do that on top. Yeah, whoa, that's a lot. On each of the beads. So they carry, they correlate the illusion of light in the scene. No one's gonna notice, but it's gonna create an effect. Forget about it. I'm really happy about the glass beads, you guys. We have 5 minutes, so that's amazing. And in this 5 minutes, what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna do anything inside because there's so much going on inside, but I do love 2 things about this. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. I love 2 things about the image. There's some metallic texture right on top, and also this Rosetta thing at the bottom that it's a little bit off. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna see if I can bring those 2 elements, and that will be the end of my session. All right, let me see, because I'm gonna use ecru I think Ecru does it, just Ecru. I'm just gonna bring Ecru right now. And I love the radiating effect. So I'm using a small brush, by the way. Just a few tones. Maybe I'll just darken it a little bit. And then at the bottom, I need to realign it because it's not really well aligned. So there's a little bit of sculpting that I'm gonna have to do, shifting lines here. Look at the subject. I'm basically saying this to myself because I get carried away and I'm not looking at the subject, and I realize that I'm not feeding my brain in making decisions based on what my eyes are seeing. Okay, good. So I just repositioned it, maybe with some of the gorgeous Van Dyke brown, which I love so much. I'm just gonna reposition that edge. Yeah, I think that works. And with the Van Dyke brown, I'm just gonna build the darker shadows that I see right here. Like slowly, yeah, you can see slowly from a distance. It looks like a nipple, if I can say that without sounding gross. Yeah, little darker areas right here. And then I'm just gonna use the gorgeous Van Dyke brown on top. To build to kind of like create the illusion of that deep indentation between and the connection. Oh, why I forgot the name of it. Jen, what is the name of this the thing that gets attached to the ceiling on a lamp? Do you know?
Don't know, but I'll look it up for you.
I know it has a name, but I don't know what the name is. Yeah, so if you notice, I just created that indentation on top, and the Rosetta, the nipple thing is here a little bit more. I wanted to cut a little bit, maybe with a zinc white, because I love this flower daisy-like effect. Feels like a daisy. So that can help us create more of a shaped area right on top. And that will be my last, yeah, I think that works. It will be my last. Yeah, it's a little bit more shape. You can see now that there is more of a formed area sculpted with a daisy shape. And it's like, that's 2 hours.
Leo, does collar ring a bell? Is it the collar?
Doesn't. I mean, it may be that, but I don't recall this being the word. I'll find out, but I know that there's, it has a name. I don't think it's that, but it may be that, and I've been wrong all along.
Okay, keep looking.
It's okay, I will find out. And on that note, you guys, I loved this so much. I can't wait to gather again. We're gonna have a 10-minute break right now. Drink, use the restroom, stretch. And then in 10 minutes, approximately, we'll be back, and then I'm gonna upload a photo of this, and then we'll just chat more about your experience. And if you wanna upload your image, we know that work is in progress, so don't feel bad about anything because it helps everyone. So we'll see you in 10 minutes. Bye. Well, hi everyone. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Hey, hi, Claire. I am going to, okay, perfect. So wonderful. Yeah, so thank you. This was exciting. I can't believe 10 minutes go by so fast. It's just like crazy, but and let me see if I can refresh. And I'm gonna start sharing the, yeah, I'm gonna start sharing the, oh, there's so much going on. Okay, let me just edit the album really quickly and organize them. Oh my gosh, so many amazing paintings, you guys. Wow, so incredible. Okay, one second. I'm just kind of like organizing them. Oh my gosh, really incredible.
If this keeps going on, we'll have every inch of our places painted. Let it go through September, right? I have the two corners we haven't gotten to yet.
I know, I know. Listen, we're discovering things, but I agree with you. Okay.
I noticed some cracks in my ceiling,
Oh.
so thank you.
Let me see. Okay, I got it. So, perfect. So I think, yeah, I can have them all. And I just want to show you the image that, because I think I uploaded it later, but that's what I worked on, because on the camera it wasn't that clear. But that's the picture that I worked on, and then I uploaded the image. It looks like nothing like it, but I'm happy with the composition and stuff, and you can see the beats. And because I was noticing that on the, oops, sorry, on the camera, it's not that, whoa, it's not that, hey, it's okay. It's not that clear. So anyhow, just wanted to show you those because I usually have it ready, but I didn't. So it looks like, Jen, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the UK is dark tonight.
Yes, the UK is dark tonight.
Okay.
Also, Farrell had to leave early, but she'll be here on Tuesday, so you don't need to
Okay,
comment on
perfect.
hers either.
Yeah, all right, awesome. So I think I'm just gonna, my gosh, if you don't mind, Julie, if you're there, this is just amazing, Julie.
Oh, thank you.
I love it so much. Such a great composition. I like the fact that you brought diagonals descending and then the other diagonal on the other end. So this crisscrossing compositionally, brilliant, fantastic. It's just beautiful. Yeah, I like the fact that there's a little bit of landscape showing, the tiles on the roof, the wire. It's an extraordinary painting. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Okay, what can I work on though? It's really hard with those whites, you know, because that's a white wall in the front, the foreground wall. But of course, it reads very gray in the photograph. And
yeah, no, the photograph changes the color so much. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
And I went more toward the blues than the warm grays that the photograph had because I just didn't have the right warm gray working.
right. Yeah. Well, I would say I think this is very dark. The blue here, it's very dark. I would just lift up the blue a little bit. And I would possibly warm the outside a tad because I feel like the inside, it's not as warm. And I also love the fact, well, you brought it here, never mind. You have such a, the strong highlight, the sun, it's actually here. So I think that's good. So maybe just a lighter blue overall. I think that would be great.
It's reading darker anyway in my snapshot of the painting. But I see now that you look at it, I can see so much more warmth on that exterior wall than I could on my iPad with the glare of the light coming out in the garage.
I know.
So that's really helpful.
There's even pink on the photograph.
Which would be really nice in there.
I think so. And then in that sense, I mean, if you wanted to get there, I love the actual texture of the beams. I don't know if that's something, maybe with a graphite. It doesn't have to be painted.
That's what I was thinking because I started to paint and then I just realized it's too impossible and it becomes too precious. You know, it's like, oh my God, that line isn't good. But I don't even think I'd need to go the full span. Do you think?
No. I mean, I just like the fact that there's continuation and it's such a strong graphic element that sort of like correlates with the corner of the wall and then the window that I just
Right.
feel, and you can play with also depth and perspective because the lines are a little tighter the further
Mhm.
away, and they become slightly wider as they fade into
Close.
the corners. So that could give you a great sense of extension, depth, perspective. And
And you
yeah,
think,
so with a
yeah,
pencil.
you do that with graphite. Don't worry about trying to paint them on, right?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
give it a try with a graphite. Whether it's dry or wet, you can still apply it on top, and
Mhm.
it's just going to give you. Yeah, I think I love, my favorite part is apart from the tiles, but I love the wire of the lamp. I think it's really
Well,
cool.
I was really kind of frustrated because I feel like it should go all the way down straight, but because of the warp of the camera lens, it goes to the side because of course the light hangs low. It
Yeah,
hangs straight.
yeah.
But it's okay, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
I
does
think
it
so.
bother you?
No, no, no. It's one of my big, again, it's the underdog of the painting, and I love it. So
Okay, great. Thank you.
well
All right,
done,
I'll work
Julie.
on the lighter blues and warmth outside. And yeah, the corner could go darker probably too. It's hard though,
I
doing
mean,
the blending.
I know the blending. If anything, I mean, I would possibly also kind of like soften, because I want to do that on my ceiling. Soften a little bit the strokes,
Okay,
so it becomes more kind of like smooth.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Not so much on the ceiling, but in the wall.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Awesome, great. Thank you, Julie. Another amazing painting. So, and this is Farrell. I mean, I know she's not here, but this looks incredible. I love the colors. And I'll just send her a note. And her painting looks fantastic. Great color palette. Anyhow, so this is Sarah. Yeah. Oh, so great. I love the ceiling fan, and I like the detail of the curtain. Oh, great. Sarah, this looks fantastic. I love it. Um, Great, beautiful. I like the floral aspect of it. I like the draped element of it. I think this is also it's not even the underdog of the painting. Yes, it is the underdog, but it's so exquisite and beautiful. Um, yeah, I would probably do a couple of things. So the protagonist of all our paintings is the ceiling. And because we have such a span of area in the ceiling, it's so tricky to capture all the highs and lows. But I just love the fact that you have this super lighter area, and there's a slight transition toward darkness. So I think that works here, but I would possibly kind of like work a little bit making distinctions on this part of the painting, because there's something nice about this light bouncing almost. I know that's going to be hard, but maybe with some more titanium white or kind of like creating a glow there. Because I feel like otherwise you have the darker area here and everything feels pretty solid. Um, and there's a little bit of, I mean, there's a vignette area here that um, I think I would just maybe continue a little bit of that gray, because I think if you put it on the corners, which I think you did, but it's going to create more of the illusion of a span on the ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love the lamp on the fan. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, the lines. I mean, the things, the switch hanging. It looks really great. It's beautiful. And if anything, also which you did, well, I would consider it. So you have the light coming from the window, and there is one blade of the fan that's reflecting slightly that light. And I think that's important because it gives a sense that the blades are not all facing forward or anything like that. I would definitely lighten this up a little bit so you bring a correlation and relationship between the light coming from the window and the blade.
Okay.
That would be, and then in regards of the draped area, I just think it's precious. If anything, I mean, if you wanted to, no, I think it's fine. I feel like the color is slightly different, and you've been using such warm tones. I feel like the wall could be a little bit more colored in that sense, a little bit warmer.
Okay.
There's a slight distinction between the fabric, the canvas-like, and then this buttery yellow on the wall. So I feel like if you bring it, it's gonna read like two different surfaces. One
Okay.
is the draped curtain or rod, and then you have the wall that's almost banana yellow, like
Right.
stronger.
Okay.
What do you think?
I agree. I think the way that I cropped it, it took out a lot of that buttery yellow, because in the photograph it's extended a little bit more, and in the painting I kind of cut it off.
Oh,
So what I cut off made it look a lot darker, but I see what you mean. I think it would be more interesting.
okay, good. Exquisite, fantastic. Love the composition. I like the fact that the light's cropped. I love how this blade shoots out of the painting on the top part. Like, it's very dramatic. It creates almost like a very dramatic, because it's not a chandelier, because it has this fan expanding. It reads very foreshortened compared to a single chandelier. So, and I love the fact that it plays with sizes, something really close and bigger, and then something far away. So it's fantastic, fantastic.
Thank you. It was fun doing.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, awesome. Claire, great corner. Super minimal, but super sophisticated and complex, I should say. And lots to work here. It's deceivingly simple, but I think you did a fantastic job. You're
There's
working
an updated version.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go for it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pause the sharing right now, so I don't make anyone sick. And
I
then
noticed that the shape was the wrong shape, so I fixed it really quickly and uploaded a new photo. I hope that doesn't drive you crazy.
no, it's okay. I'll do it really quickly, and I'll just, oh yeah, it looks okay. I'm gonna put it right next to the photo so we can compare. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this, and then I have this. Yeah, much more developed.
That's a new one.
Perfect. Great. So again, it looks like simple, but it's really challenging. Well, compositionally, first things first, because I think that's very important to me. I love the fact that you created this horizon line almost, and then you brought in a corner, which I think it's really important to ground the ceiling, or to frame it, rather support it, to support the ceiling. Literally, I think that's the expression that I would use. So I think compositionally looks fantastic. I love the fact that the lamp, it's off center, so it's not. So I think this is going to be a game of values. So yeah, I feel like the grays are very cold compared to the photograph. So I would bring some warmth, especially on this shadow. It just feels like much warmer than it is. So that will be my.
I've been making my shadows with raw umber and Payne's gray, so I could add more raw umber, I guess.
I think so, because it feels. If you have, I would say if you have orange, I would even bring a tad of orange there, because or burnt sienna, rather, the burnt sienna, which is like a darker version of that orange. I think that could help you. Just because it just creates a separation between the actual glass of the lamp and how the light or the shadow acts. So
Okay.
It would be an object with its shadow, because right now it just feels too much of the same color range in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And should I add some of that to the other shadow that's the horizon line?
I would. Yeah,
Okay.
a tad. Yeah. I think there's something really interesting that happens here. The ceiling doesn't seem to be super flat. There's a sheen. So I love this kind of like a reflection. I think because right now you have this crescent brushstroke that's very strong. It's very long. I would interrupt it a little bit by bringing this element, because I feel like there's so much going on here.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it gets all kind of like swept away with a bold crescent brush strokes. I would break it up. And I think I would possibly lighten this. Well, no, maybe not the panel. Oops, sorry. But I think I would lift up this brown a little bit. It's very dark, and you have something that it's much warmer here. So I would just make it a little less dark. The wood.
This was deceptively difficult. I thought, snap, so easy, can't wait to do it. Oh man.
I know. It's.
And both the last assignment and this one, until I saw the photo next to my painting, I really didn't see how my shapes were wrong. I didn't
helps.
see till they were right next to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you know what? It helps that we're not painting, that we're actually looking, and we don't have to do anything right now. So it helps tremendously. And also because they're the same size and they're next to each other, so we can just find more. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so this is the thing. The paint that we use, the oil paint, as you know, it has lots of limitations because it's mineral based. It's, so that creates an earthy tone. It's not as vibrant. So in that sense, I feel, I'm squinting my eyes. No, never mind. Because there's something really lovely about this reflection. And I would almost bring, it's possibly not there, but I would almost bring like a pink on one side, slightly pink, and almost like a lavender on the other side.
Okay.
I just feel like they're both very similar.
Yeah. I really struggled with that.
Oh, no. This is work in progress for all of us,
I thought it was going to be so easy.
Yeah, no, it's much more complex. Sometimes the simpler the composition, the more difficult it is, because then we have to think about those variations. When there's something that has a lot of stuff going on, then we can just kind of like build. Okay, we need to do these, the leaves, blah blah blah, the still life. But when it's simple, then there's no room to hide. We have to tackle that.
So Julio, I don't want to spend too much time because there's other people, but I really struggled with the whites because I only have the one titanium white. Would a zinc white help me create the different whites in this scenario?
I don't think, no. I mean, if you had it, you would probably realize the difference, but you can do a lot with the titanium, and it's not a deal breaker at all. It's not a deal breaker at all. So I would concentrate on temperatures of the whites. That's it. Because you don't have like super strong shadows, like meaning with hard edge shadows. So I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, if you on the next color or paint purchase that you may do, then add a zinc white to the shopping list. But don't worry about it.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool.
Thank you so much, Julio.
Thank you so much. So oh wow, Lois, this is like incredible, so interesting. It's sort of like a pyramid, right? Hi, Lois.
It's this garage in our back that was finished, and I used it as my studio, but then my daughter Sunny came home and now she's in there, so we tried to make it more like a bedroom. And it has these skylights, and so we took these old curtains and stapled them up and put this sun lamp that I got in Mexico up there. And I just like the way it looked like an angel, or like some sort of alien. I wanted to fool around and really kind of really enjoy the painting and not so much trying to make it look like what it is.
Yeah. No. I'm just really captivated. And this is the reason why I love this assignment, because we are discovering things by looking up. So I find this like really interesting, this sort of like pyramid shape, and then the small square on the top. It's very temple-like. It's gorgeous. And I love that you added the fabric, and yeah, that the sun looks incredible. And you added, this looks fantastic, great. And this is the only piece.
Yeah, that's the latest.
That's the latest. Okay. So let's go step by step, because I feel like you have so much going on, because there's so many surfaces. It's not a single one, because the first thing that I noticed is that you cropped the bottom, obviously. So, that makes it have no walls to support this. So the thing is that you have to create the idea that the top is far away, because otherwise everything's going to come forward and be sandwiched. So I think I would soften a lot more the top, because I feel like right now it comes forward too much.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about drawing or proportions or perspective or anything like that. I feel like I would also, let me see how the light goes. Yeah, so the strong light comes from the windows, and the rest I would just fade it a tad. I would just do a lot of blending. So keep the source of light, the whitest white, I think should be the coming from the windows, especially here and here.
This is the perfect assignment for that titanium and the zinc. That's really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm using the titanium for the walls to blend, and then just the titanium for those highlights in the curtains.
Right.
And the top. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of cool.
I'd say darken the walls, because your brightest thing should be the window. You need to sort of like you need to facilitate someone looking at it, facilitate the understanding of the architecture. And you have to play with light. So find extreme white, which is this two highlights, but dim the whites everywhere else. So that, for starters, will just clarify.
Yeah, because I can't get any hotter there. I can't. That's the white. That's the titanium. You're right. The only way is to take the others down. I'm just using Payne's gray, yellow ochre, and the two whites. That's all I've done.
Yeah, you could do this monochromatically. It's not about adding, like with Claire, it was more about adding temperature, but with you, it's not. It's not the temperature, it's the value, I would say.
Yeah.
So I would definitely tone it down, meaning like, darken, like for example, this upper part, darken it a little bit. So the one that pops are the windows. And then after that, I think I would just work on the fabric. Because if you dim the walls, that's going to put him on a different level or a different category or a different visual plane. I would then entertain spending time with the actual drapery.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, totally. And like I just since we've been talking, I've been blending. I don't want to see any lines. Like, I see too many lines right now. It's like it should be the shade. The shade should create the shape, not the line.
Yeah, that's okay. That texture, if you want to soften it, I think. And I would definitely just bring some warmth to the mirror on top.
Yeah.
So it looks like a separate object. Although, you could just leave it like that as the, it almost looks like one of those, what is it called? Plaster of Paris things on top of the ceilings that are so ornate in old buildings. A molding of sorts. I'm sure it has a name, but you could leave it like that. In fact, it's not a bad idea that has the same tones as the rest, or that's purely artistic decision, or just bring the warm tones so it looks like it's a mirror.
Yeah, I do have some gold paint. I kind of want to just really play around with this.
Yeah.
Like after I do that toning, put the picture away and then just work on the paint and
give it a
the photo away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was good assignment. Oh my god.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I took on too much, but The rest of my house ceiling is super ugly.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The rest of my house is super ugly ceiling. So.
Oh, I don't.
Well,
After this assignment, all ceilings are beautiful. If you ask me.
the protagonist. I didn't know paintings have protagonists, but I guess they do, don't they?
Well, they may be not as gorgeous as this one, but this is an unbelievable ceiling that you have here. So it compensates if you think the rest are kind of like flat.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. So interesting. So inspiring to be under such open space, I guess.
There's a lot of spiders up there, though.
That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But it just feels like, I don't know. It just feels
No, it's good.
very
It's good.
inspirational. Good choice to keep that as a studio or now a bedroom, but because there's something about it that feels very inspirational.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, work on
Thank
it. It's
you.
totally worth it. It's incredible. It's so unpredictable and unusual. I would totally continue working on it.
Yeah, I think I did it from this photo. Do you see the other photo?
Oh, this one. Ah,
That's what I did.
Well, okay. So I'll take a minute, but definitely darken the rest. Absolutely, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just gonna make it clear, and yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, Lois. Sorry, I just like I kept going back to this one, but yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't decide. I couldn't decide.
I see that one is horizontal, the other is vertical. I think you chose the right one. I think this is very interesting the way it is.
Yeah, I just thought for interest as
Yeah.
opposed to, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed more fun.
No, definitely. It's gorgeous. And the more I see it, yeah, the points of light should be the lightest. And then the fabric is what's going to connect everything here. It's
Okay.
the fabric. Because the fabric looks like it's cascading down. So that is
Yeah,
very important.
it's catching the light there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
got work
Can't
to
wait.
do. Thanks, guys. Everybody's
Okay.
paintings are amazing again, as usual.
So fun. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Lois. And Dina. Fantastic. Let me see. I'm going to put it right next to the photograph. Just give me 1 second. And if I can organize it in 1 minute. Sorry, 1 sec. Edit album, and then I'll just put it up. I love that you brought the hand there. That's really good, Dina. Really good.
I still have to work on that.
No.
But it's a shadow, and yet it doesn't look like a shadow. It looks like a hand that
No.
shadow. So I have to figure out how to make that better.
Okay. Well, listen. I think let's sort of like deconstruct bit by bit. If love the composition. I know that you on your painting you cropped. It's cropped, which I love. I think it's great.
There's 2 pictures, so I used 2 pictures to to create this composite. So there's 2. If you see in the gallery, there's one that's more cropped, but
Yeah.
I like the hand. I like the hand.
Yeah.
Of this one
The other
rather
one.
than the other one.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
the wrap.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the lamp, the light fixture, it looks super strong. I just think like it's incredible the way you did it. And I would possibly, I would just maybe work on creating more of a lighter value.
Right.
On top, perhaps. Yeah, a lighter value on top. I love the paint cast of this painting so much. So I would definitely bring it more. I know you have, but I would just bring it a tad more because it's really gorgeous. And it reads kind of like pinkish in one area, but because it has shadow, it reads violet and lavender.
Yeah.
So I would bring, because this feels very cold, I would bring some kind of like more of a pink note here and a lavender note on the other side.
Yeah. Okay.
I love the light reflection. That tells you that this is glass. So
I haven't finished that one yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the shadow that you have here, it's on the purple side. So you brought, yeah, great. You brought sort of like purple, but I would make it a little bit warmer. I feel like it's too cold.
Bring some pink or the reddish kind of in it.
Yeah,
maybe?
I would up the color because I feel like right now it's purple there, but I would up that warmth.
Okay.
Yeah, I would up the warmth because yeah, I think so. And then consider this because that's gonna be, oh, I see, because you brought the.
Because on the other picture, there's no wall. So I
Right.
tried to use the wall on that one and the wall and the light, and then just the
Yeah.
hand on the other one.
Right. So on the wall, there's, if you notice, there is a double edge. The bottom edge is a little bit lighter.
Right.
Sometimes, this happens all the time when we create a surface and there's a square and the edge turns. Sometimes that line catches the light and it becomes lighter. It could be this way or it could be that way. So I would just bring a little bit of a light line, almost like what you have right here. And it's going to read like the wall bends. So it's not just a line on the ceiling.
I see. Yeah, I see. Yeah, yes. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. And I
when
would
I
think
take
that,
the picture, the paper is curling a little bit. That's why when I take the picture, it doesn't look straight.
oh, I see. Yeah,
on,
no, it's okay.
on the paper, it is actually straight. It's just, I just kind of.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's not the straightness, but it's mostly just the fact that you'll have to work harder on this area. If you ask me, you'll have to work harder because you don't have any vanishing points and you don't have anything making it look like a corner. So you have to work a little bit harder to make sure that this reads as a break between ceiling and vertical.
Okay.
Yes, so more value work, that line will help you.
Okay.
Yeah. And then let's go, and finally the hand. I think the hand, the thing about the shadow is that you have to make sure 100% that anything inside the silhouette as flat as possible.
So same color. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because you have certain indentations and certain lines and certain highs and lows, it actually looks like not a shadow, but a hand.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Right now, you have the fingers and the silhouette is perfect, Dina. It's perfect. But I would make sure that this looks like a cutout, like collage.
Flat. Okay.
Flat.
Okay.
With a super hard edge. Well, it's not very hard edge because it's a little bit smudged. So no super hard edge, but inside flat.
Okay.
And if this matches the shadow of the lamp, then it's gonna help each other, because if you make this one color and this is the other color, then it's gonna read 100% that this is a shadow.
Well, then I didn't understand too. See how the light shadow, the light shadow looks hard in the photograph, and yet the hand shadow looks soft.
Yeah. So it may be because of the source of light. I
think, well, when I put my hand up higher, then it gets clearer. So maybe my hand was when it's closer to the light, it was more.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So I think if the higher I went, if it was farther away, then it actually got harder edge.
Well, I think the closer you get to the ceiling, the harder the shadow. Because this is so close to the ceiling that then it doesn't fade. But the hand
maybe should I make the hand? Maybe I should make the hand sharper, but all the same color, like you said.
I think I would. I think give it a try, but I like the fact that it's not sharp, because then it just looks like it's not close to the ceiling. So you could play with perspective if you make the hand fuzzy, the edge. I think I would make it fuzzy, actually.
Okay.
I would make it fuzzy and lighter, because right now This feels darker, so it doesn't make sense because the further away from the ceiling, the lighter the shadow and the fuzzier the edge.
Ah, okay.
So match the temperature, make it
Okay.
a little bit lighter because
Uh-huh.
it's further away, and then
Uh-huh.
fuzzier along the edge.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I can't wait. This looks very playful and really nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad it's something simpler in composition because your composition last week was amazing. There was so much. The driver's seat, the back, the, you know, everything, the window, the landscape, a
Yeah.
ton of things.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
I'm glad that it's something simpler, but not necessarily easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dina. And then I think that's it. So I hope that's it. So I'm just gonna pause. Yes. Keep uploading images. We'll give feedback. I owe people feedback from last week and from a couple of weeks ago. I think, Julie, I know that you uploaded a new photo of the mask, so I'm gonna give you feedback there. So, and also Dina, I have to catch up with that, and I will. I love the painting, by the way, Dina. I'm just gonna give you right now. I think it's fantastic. I'm just gonna give you a couple of notes as well. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. Jen, any comments, any notes?
People really loved this assignment. So there's a comment.
I know, so unexpected and so satisfying. I just felt like I learned about many things with this painting. Every painting for me, it's an opportunity to grow. And I take in the challenge as a gift for me. It's sort of like a gift to find out what I didn't know I needed to learn, basically. So yeah, the zinc white helped, but then the larger area as well, and the glass, prioritizing a lot of things. Oh, you can see the actual chandelier and the microphone. Anyhow, well, thank you. Thanks, everyone. This was fantastic. Next Tuesday, I'm gonna try to do a demonstration with the zinc white with a gray paper, if I can get one, so you can see variations. But now maybe I'll do a demonstration also with the painting, so we can do a glaze and see how that works. But I can clearly see the difference between titanium white and then having the opposite white in opacity and in opacity and transparency, basically. Yeah, I can see why this could be helpful. I'm going to send you, Jen will send you the recap, and then I'm going to send you the link with a replay, which I didn't do last week, by the way, so I need to do it. And stay safe. We don't know how long this is going to take, but it's going to possibly take for a very long time. So we're here for you guys. We'll reconnect on Tuesday again, and then we'll do something next Friday. And we need to come up with a follow-up makeup class or session for the paintings that are piling up, because I feel like I need to spend time on one painting, and then it would be fine. It would be great to do it together. All right. Clearly, I need to eat. So on that note,
Thank you.
Thanks.
I love you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Julio and Jen. This was great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
You guys are the best.
Bye.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
friends.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We live for you guys. Thanks.
Ditto.
See you soon.
Mwah.
Bye.